Okay, this is Pastor Russ again, and I want to be able to give to you the third law of Maslow's 5 laws. So, to understand this, these are areas of needs that build on each other. So, level 1 has to be established in order to get to level 2. You have to have level 1 and level 2 to get to level 3, and so on. So, level 1 was psychological needs. Whenever they're not met, you can't go to the second level. And then the second level are safety needs for you to be able to experience the next level, third level, which is love and belonging. So if they don't feel psychologically safe and if they don't feel physically safe, they can't experience love and belonging. That's the way it is. Everyone is a social creature, and God made us that way. This is what you have to understand. God made us to be social creatures. God made us to be in relationship with each other. And He made us to crave that attention that we have from social interaction with each other. But if the first level, psychological, and the second level, safety, are not being met, you're spending your time trying to deal with those things because they're so important. You ain't got time for love and belonging. You haven't got time for relationships. You haven't got time to be able to talk about it. This can show up in a marriage. It can show up in a relationship. It can show up in a business, in your company, and at work. If you have somebody around you who does not feel safe, you need to address that. If you want them to feel like they belong to the team, if they belong to the group. And so if you're leading a small group, you want to pay attention to this. If somebody's not connecting, ask them, how are you feeling? What's going on? And if they're telling you about some things that's happening at home, things that's happening in their life, they don't feel secure about their job or anything else, that's the reason why they're not connecting to the group. It's not because you're not reaching and you're not trying, but you're not asking the right questions. And so you have to look at that, see where that goes. Things like friendship, intimacy, family, love need to happen within the parameters that are placed where basic needs and safety are met. So if a wife or a husband says, I don't feel safe here, they don't feel love. They may be being shown love, but they can't receive it because they're terrified, they're scared, they're afraid. Now, fear, very quickly, most fear is perceived, not real. We think it, and therefore it is, because our brain can tell the difference between what is real and what we imagine. So if they perceive that they don't feel safe, they don't feel safe. Even though you on the outside, you're looking in going, oh, there's nothing wrong. I don't understand what the problem is. It's going on up here between their ears. So when deprived of this level, individuals experience loneliness and depression. When they're deprived of level 3, they will experience loneliness and depression. They'll feel like they've been abandoned. Depending on how they respond to pressure and stressful situations, they may do a blame game. They may become an introvert. They may just disappear, ghost you. They're just gone. But it's going to happen. If they experience the absence of levels 1 and 2, you're going to see the same thing. So just because you see somebody that's lonely or somebody that's dealing with depression or some level of depression, you're like, well, they don't experience love and belonging. That's true, but they're also not experiencing the safety that comes from level 2 and the psychological needs being met in level 1. But how can you meet this third level with quality? You need to be able to answer that. You have to answer that within the parameters of all of your relationships, professional relationships, personal relationships, marital friendships, and everything else. How are you addressing this? And if the first thing that comes to mind is, well, it's whatever, that was you're screwing up levels 1 and 2. I'll tell you that right now. If you don't have any investment or any reason or any cause to go into level 3, you're going to just shoot yourself in the foot. And you wonder why nobody wants to be around you, nobody likes you, all the rest of the stuff. You don't care. Apathy will kill level 3 every time. And carelessness towards other people's feelings will also kill level 3 and will cause level 2 or level 1 to begin to disintegrate. So make sure that your first and second levels are being met. So how do you meet the third level? We'll take a look at level 1. Hey, how do you feel? Do you feel safe? how, what's going on here. And even if you're in a realistic situation where it's not easy, you're going through a crisis, going through a troubled time, talking about it and expressing it and getting it out there actually goes a long way to help people feel safer. May not feel the safest, but get them to feel safer with you. Don't be reckless in developing relationships, set boundaries and standards. So, especially among friendships and people and everything else, some people think a friendship is one thing, other people think it's, you've got to know. And because we're followers of Christ, we use biblical standards for our relationships, whether they be dating or courting and be as a fiance, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a church relationship, a business relationship, we use those. Leadership requires ownership, and time is what you invest the most. Leadership requires ownership. So if you are going to lead people and you want them to bind together as a team, as their leader, you have to own it. You have to own level 3. And you have to be the person who does the loving and the belonging. And that takes time and learning how to be emotionally available, having a high EQ, emotional quota, in order to be able to do that. That goes back to the 3 C's. Remember, whenever I was talking about chemistry, this is where chemistry kicks in. Protect your heart from being unforgiving and judgmental. So people make mistakes, people screw up, people just do stupid stuff, bad stuff, whatever the case is. You have to start your day ready to release people who are going to offend you, and you also have to stop yourself from judging what other people are. I can judge. A guy goes out and mows the yard 2 weeks ago, did a horrible job. Well, I went out and talked to him, and I interrupted him. And so I learned this time I didn't interrupt him. The second week went out, he did a great job. So I was upset about the second 2 weeks ago. But then I got thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? Let him finish the job before I talk to him, and then everything will be okay. Perfect. But I had to let go. I really wanted to rip him one for making a mess out of my yard. But you just don't. You can't get judgmental about things. Speak the truth in love. Speak the truth in love. I know lots of people speak the truth, and they're just brass and rude and crude and, I'm to the point. No. We're not politicians. Stop. Everything doesn't have to fit into a one-sentence soundbite. You can express love, and you can show love while speaking the truth so that people will know that you love them, even though this is maybe a criticism. You're not being critical. All right? Value the person more than their actions. People do stupid things all the time and tend to be dismissed and judged according to their actions. Now, I'm not giving people license to sin, but I am saying that we accept people as they are if we want them to feel loved and belonged. Okay? I can love people, but if somebody makes a colossal mistake and they end up in all the trouble of the law and everything else, hey, they're going to have to work through that. But I can still love them. I may not trust them in a particular area, like with money or around people, around kids, or whatever the case is. But I can still love them. So can you. And use grace often. You have to express grace all the time. But you have to do that with love, acceptance, and forgiveness. That's an expression of grace. So it's agape love, giving without expecting anything in return. Acceptance as they are, as I said before, we're not given a license to sin, but wherever they're at, we're going to accept them just as they are. And we forgive them. And that's hard sometimes because people do things that we deem unforgivable. So those are the things I want you to look at, think about in Maslow's law number 3, and I will share number 4 later.